A very rowdy bunch
We
of
have a
folks.
massive dishwasher, by the way.
That's too. They needed it. Yeah, yeah.
I was very impressed.
Okay, we'll go live.
Okay, hold on just a second.
We'll go live in 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. I'm Bernard Green, Chair of the Brookline Select Board, and this is the meeting of the Select Board for July 11th, 2023. First item on the agenda is I'd like to move that we go into executive session for the consideration of matters of litigation, which must be dealt with in executive session because handling them in open session would compromise the litigation position of the town of Brookline. In addition, and I so declare that to be the case, in addition, we'll also be discussing minutes of May 23rd, I think, and June 27th, executive session minutes. After our executive session, we will return to open session. So all in favor of going into executive session, please indicate by saying aye. John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. We will be back. Chair of the Brookline Select Board, and this is a meeting of the Select Board for July, 11th, 2023. We just returned from executive session, and this is our open session. So let's start off with updates, announcements from the select board. Mr. Carey, do you have something you'd like to present?
Sure. I have a couple of just brief updates for the community. One is a happy occasion, which is the Sunset Concert is coming to Brookline on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. It's going to the Potterham Golf Course. It's going to be a multi-performer, family-friendly music experience from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Wednesday, August 2nd. This is the inaugural event of what we hope will be a major annual summer tradition in South Brookline. Now, it's going to be free as the inaugural event to encourage people to come out and check it out. But advanced registration tickets are required. Non-reserved admission on the day of the event will be $5. So please reserve your tickets in advance. It's gonna be family friendly, a lot of fun. There's a Tom Petty cover band, a couple of great bands playing. There is limited parking available at the golf course until 4 p.m. After 4 p.m., parking moves to Dexter Southfield. There'll be a shuttle service, but we encourage multimodal transportation. So again, Wednesday, August 2nd, from 3 to 9 p.m., the Sunset Concert at the golf course's driving range, 1281 West Roxbury Parkway. Be there or be square. That was more of a rectangle. The other issue update is related to just ongoing matters that we're working on. I wanted to update the board as well as the broader community. As many of you know, we are still in civil service for our fire and police hiring and promotions. In last September, a civil service exam was offered but not graded because of a successful lawsuit arguing that the practice of the civil service exam was discriminatory. So we have been operating with old and now an expired lists in the police department. We were eager and excited for the police exams to be sat again in September, and we had been told that those would be open to all participants. But unfortunately, we've been told now by the state that is going to be limited just to people who took the September exam last year, as opposed to the full group. So obviously, our chief of police and I have had a conversation about this. Chief Pastor has sent a letter directly to the state. I just wanted to update you all and the community on this because I think, frankly, it's just not fair to the people who are now in provisional titles who may not be able to take that exam, all of those things. So to the extent, obviously, that the state is willing to reconsider that decision, I really hope that it does. So we're conducting that level of outreach to the extent elected officials conduct that outreach as well. We always appreciate your voices on this.
Great, thank you. Any other comments, Miriam?
I just want to bring to the public's attention that this was in your update, your town administrator newsletter, but I think it's really, frankly, fabulous. And I want people to know that the health department is providing free naloxone and training to residents. So you can do the training or you can walk into the health department anytime Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4. I was going to try to go today. 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday, and 8 to 12:30 on Friday. And ask for naloxone. It's a treatment for opioids overdose. For those who don't know, it's super, super easy. It's literally a nasal spray. So if you find somebody you're concerned that they've had an opioid overdose, you can administer the naloxone. It is a very safe drug, and then call 911 and you could save somebody's life. So I plan on having some on me, and I encourage you all to do the same. And just a little tidbit, I was a part of the original study to test naloxone. I was in the control group for nasal naloxone 20 some years ago.
So it's not problematic if you are not suffering an overdose.
That's correct. If you're not overdosing and you've given naloxone, I can tell you from personal experience, it does nothing.
So okay.
It blocks the opioid receptors. So it basically pushes the opioids off of the receptor. The big issue, and this is important for the public to know, I do think, is that the naloxone wears off before the opioid does. So it's not enough to just give them the naloxone. You have to get them, you have to call 911 and get them further care.
Great. Any other board comments, John?
Thank you very much. Two things. And the first one is with great pleasure, just to let people know, Brookline has something known as the naming committee, which is the committee officially assigned to review matters of changing the names, proposed changes in names, for example, of schools. And that's what this is all about. And the naming committee is going to be having, these things don't occur all that often, but the naming committee is going to be having a meeting on Wednesday of next week. So that's a week from tomorrow, July 19th at 6 p.m. And it will be hybrid, so it can be attended via Zoom or it can be attended in person in room 103 here at Town Hall. And the reason for the meeting is to discuss the Heath School, the student body and the school officials proposal that the Heath School be renamed in honor of, I'm going to say, legendary tenor, and that's not an exaggeration, legendary operatic tenor Roland Hayes. And also one of Brookline's, a person who honored Brookline by choosing Brookline as his home back in the early 20th century. And you can learn a lot more about him if you just Google search his name, Roland Hayes, Hayes. Just an amazing figure in the history of American music and an amazing figure in the history of the earned civil rights that people struggled for in every facet of American life, and no less in the world of music from the concert stage than anywhere else in American life. And Roland Hayes was a hero in that regard. So that's number one. Number two is I'm going to sort of take this occasion to tell people about something that they might not know. But I think more people should know this, that they might recall that there was a complaint made to the Office of Campaign and Political Finance at the state level as to whether there was any conduct during the recent ballot campaign in Brookline that went outside the bounds of, what is permitted by the rules of the Office of Campaign and Political Finance. And our town council has done an excellent job, and I really want to underscore excellent, thorough job of, at the request of the OCPF, doing his own research into what exactly transpired and what might be activity by individuals in the school department and in the public schools that might have crossed lines as far as the OCPF regulations are concerned, and has determined that as a result of his investigation that there may in fact have been some violations. It's not an easy matter to sort of make a declarative judgment on, and there are gray areas, and we haven't yet heard from the OCPF as to their view of the situation. So what I would really recommend people do, it's a public document that has been shared with the select board, the opinion of the town council on this matter. And, I'd encourage anyone who wants to read in full, and I would request that you read it in full to get all of the nuances of it, that it's a public document that can be requested from Town Hall.
Thank you. Any other?
I just have one quick thing. I think it's perhaps helpful for people to know that we're having, the select board is having a workshop next week. We have an outside facilitator who's going to be helping us, and it's a follow-on from the two that we've had in some ways, and in some ways it's a bit of a departure. And she has interviewed Miriam so far, and Paul and myself, and I believe you and the two of you will be next tomorrow. Okay, and I think you'll appreciate having the interview. And she seems to know exactly what she needs to do.
Great.
So
Very much enjoy the conversation.
yeah.
Okay, any other updates or announcements? Let's move on to public comment. John, you want to?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The rules of the road. Here they are. Each person speaking tonight is limited to 3 minutes. You don't need to use the entire time. You may if you like. We encourage you to refrain from personal attacks and from addressing personnel issues during your comments. Members of the public sometimes raise questions. We may be able to provide a quick answer, but are more likely to work with staff to get a more thorough answer. And we'll let you know when you have 30 seconds remaining and when your time is up. So please conclude your remarks at that time. And if you have more to say, you're welcome to send an email to board members expressing your thoughts in greater detail. Devin, who's first?
Should we talk about the time limit?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes total reserved.
15 minutes total reserved for this part of the select board meeting. That is something new that we have adopted, and I'm sure it'll work just fine.
And Devin has been designated as the chief enforcer.
Yes.
It's true. Last addition to that, thanks for catching that, Chaz, is that the chair reserves the right to include additional if we are over the 15 minutes at the
Right.
conclusion of the select board's business on the agenda. So if folks want to stick around, if they didn't get heard at the beginning of the meeting, they can stay till the end. The first person signed up for public comment is Jonathan Lau. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and share your video if you're comfortable, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Hi, good evening, members of the select board. Good evening, Mike, Paul, Bernard, John, and good evening, Chad and Devin. I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I just have 2 questions. What? And the second question is when? The first is, what is the select board plan to do possibility of social equity cannabis license? And when does the select board plan to implement that? Thank you very much for your time.
The next person
No, go ahead.
signed up for public comment is Janelle O'Neill. Janelle, you've been promoted to a panelist. Hi, Janelle, you've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and share your video if you're comfortable, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Can't hear him.
You're on mute, Danelle.
Thank you, Chaz. So my name is Darnell O'Neill, Senior, Town Meeting Member from Precinct 4. I'm also on the advisory committee. Thank you for your time. During the last town meeting, I was the sponsor of 2 articles, and I spoke in favor of 3 articles. The petitioned articles were Article 23, body worn cameras for the police department. Article 17, changing marijuana, the language in our general bylaws, changing marijuana to cannabis and increasing the cannabis cap to match up with the state's cannabis equity legislation. So just like the speaker before me, I was just curious, and hopefully you guys will have the answer on agenda number 9, recap of town meeting, on basically what and when, what's the plan for, so I meant to say, the third article that I spoke on that didn't sponsor was also referred, warrant Article 19, to create a Black and Brown commission, and the select board, this body was delegated to do that. So my questions are, what's it looking like? Any discussions going on? Like what's up? And when would this be resolved? When will we have? So town meeting, Madam Moderator sent something out that town meeting is November 14th. It's right around the corner. It's not that far away to some. So, and we don't want to put too many warrant articles on the table this time around. So I was just curious what and when, like what have you decided? What have you discussed? And when will it be resolved? Thank you for your time.
The next person signed up for public comment is Arthur Conquest.
Good evening. Couple of things. Devin, sorry, thank you very much. Thank you, Regina. I timed it, it's 2:45. If I go to, okay, so I'm not gonna if it's 3:01, I'm not going to go much further. Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Arthur Conquest, town meeting member, precinct 6. Town meeting day 5 just passed, June 6th. Bernard Green, chair of the select board, requested and was granted a point of order by the moderator. He started off by stating that he was speaking, and I quote, solely for himself, unquote. He went on to say, I quote, last week during the debate on Article 19, I made a statement that had been misinterpreted by some people that had not been intended for. I should have said it a bit more precisely. There is a lesson, what goes around comes around. When you do bad to some people, you risk that bad will come back to you in some way. So many people in town meeting knew that the lesson was intended for a person who on multiple occasions stated in public video recorded meetings that I, Bernard Green, had committed crimes and should be punished, presumably by incarceration. I ignored those statements the multiple times they were made, unquote. Like many town meeting members present, I was perplexed by Mr. Green's cryptic presentation. Approximately 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from someone who stated that the person Mr. Green was referring to in his presentation was me. I phoned Mr. Green and asked him to give me a specific incident where I had made any such statement he was referring to in his presentation to town meeting June 6th. He referred to the 3rd of August, 2021 statement before the board, which said nothing remotely close to him committing a crime or being punished, etc. He was simply fabricating the tale. I sent him a copy of my 2021 presentation, which, by the way, was terminated by the chair at the time, Heather Hamilton. Raul Fernandez, who was a member of the board then, defended the statement I was reading and told Mrs. Hamilton I was not making a personal attack on Mr. Green and that I should continue reading the rest of my statement, which was only a quarter of the way read.
You have 30 seconds.
I even thereafter had the statement reviewed by a lawyer to make sure I wasn't violating any rules with a personal attack. Chair Green is being untruthful and petty. Far too many people in this community want me to act inferior and hate Black people as they do, and I refuse and continue to do so. I submit the statement as well, this statement, as well as the August 2021 statement for the record. Arthur Conquest, July 11, 2023. Thank you.
The next person signed up for public comment is Sana Hafiz. You've been promoted. Your 3 minutes will begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Sana Hafiz, resident precinct 4, speaking in the capacity of BNBC National Program Director. As we have seen at previous select board meetings, and as Chaz has also repeated, BCF employees have leveled accusations toward BNBC staff and BNBC, a 501c3 charitable organization, and the only 100% minority owned and operated nonprofit in the town of Brookline. This same individual made allegations on the Facebook group, Brookline Townwide Discussion. There, she and others, including town meeting members, liked comments of BNBC staff being doxxed publicly and made comments of their own. BNBC staff are not the first to be attacked here. She also accused cops' wives, suggesting that they were opening her up to harassment. It would seem that this is a recurring theme and a pattern of accusations originating from this individual. These inflammatory false accusations against BNBC staff were found to be baseless in a Boston municipal court. Yet no correction has been made on public record, despite the accusations being leveled on public record on multiple occasions. This is either irresponsible oversight or an attempt to delegitimize the image of the nonprofit organization that has done more for Black and Brown community in this town than any other. Perhaps it is an intentional oversight to paint a narrative that Black and Brown organizers are aggressive. Being called aggressive or intimidating is nothing new for any Black or Brown person that has stood up against injustice and inequality. This tactic is old and tired. False allegations have been weaponized against Black and Brown organizers since the earliest liberation movements. What is worth noting here is that this is not being done by some random fringe alt-right group, but by town officials in the organizations they have close ties to. To buttress this fact, BNBC has still not received round 1 or round 2 ARPA funding. Originally, the narrative was that the town was waiting for documents from BNBC. This was quickly corrected by myself and other BNBC staff multiple times in public record at select board meetings and ARPA review meetings. Since then, BNBC leadership was informed that a hold has been placed on the funds yet again due to an investigation into the claims that BNBC has discriminated against individuals. It seems that the actors at play are desperately trying to stall and delay funds as a mean to break us down and to make us feel that our mission is futile. I'm here to remind you all that this cause has existed long before I was born and will exist long after I die. We are both the unstoppable force of change and the immovable object of principled struggle. You may throw obstacles, but you cannot stop our progression. If you think these feeble attempts at destroying morale are heavy hitting, I invite you to live a decade as a Black or Brown resident in this country and in this town. Am I intimidating or are you intimidated? This is light sparring. Let's get
30 seconds.
Thank you.
That completes 15 minutes of public comment.
Okay, thank you, Devin. Next on our miscellaneous agenda is the minutes for June 27, 2023. Anyone have any updates or edits to those minutes? Seeing none,
I'm wrong. Sorry. We had one more. That was only 4. The next
within our 15 minutes.
yes, so 3 times 4 is not quite 15.
Oh, okay.
So the last person signed up for public comment is Ade. You've been promoted to a panelist. You can unmute and share your video if you're comfortable, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
I'll try to move it as quick as possible. Ade Janusi, Precinct 4, Brookline resident, speaking in the capacity today as a BNBC director. We as the majority of the Black community, from our leaders of today to those of tomorrow, can clearly see the game being played by town elected officials, as well as other community organization leaders to demonize our organization by painting us as being aggressive and falsely alleging that our organization members have harassed members of the community. Talks of a newsletter which BNBC had nothing to do with and which was found by the judge to be free speech. The same reasoning that town council cautioned town officials when they were trying to use the news article as a merit to deny support for the warrant article. Instead of listening to town council, some decided to step up the attack and defamation by personally attacking the petitioners of warrant article 19. I believe Janice Ken even called a meeting, the advisory committee meeting, to try to stop a unanimous vote, support vote, because of a newsletter that had nothing to do with BNBC or the petitioners of warrant article 19. And she actually emailed me and said, we did have something to do with it. So here's some facts. Town government, according to the town administrator, is accusing BNBC and his staff of harassment, but has not given us names of those we have harassed. Neither has the town, since his accusation provided any proof, because there are none. The BCF staff who lied, I repeat again, lied about being harassed by BNBC and his staff was found to be baseless. On the contrary, our conversation with that individual was found to be respectful and cordial by a judge. I keep repeating this fact for a reason. That same individual that the town leadership helped perpetrate these lies by falsely finding us guilty of harassment based on a false report, deciding to withhold ARPA funding for no legal justifiable cause. ARPA is supposed to help our community, and now town government leaders are the ones in the way of that assistance to low-income people. I don't know when we as a town became the court of law, but I hope you all really know what you are doing. We kept quiet and let you all paint the picture of your inner intents. Clearly from our community, we can see what is going on. Defamation against BNBC as an organization and its staff, such as myself and signed up by all parties involved, will be addressed accordingly. And lastly, no BNBC staff ever discriminated against anyone or town officials. As a matter of fact, Miriam and Chaz and others know those that are saying things written in the
You have
warrant
30
article.
seconds.
Thank you. And they happen to be colleagues of yours. Who's a town meeting member doing that? But the fact that a bunch of white people are accusing Black and brown people of discrimination against other Black and brown people shows the fear of change that some know is coming. The epitome of desperation and a complete joke. And I hope we all know, guess who's laughing? The community. We all can see past that. Well, I guess y'all took your best shot and failed at it. The structure and organization of the Black community in Brookline is real.
You've
Who we
reached
are,
3 minutes.
thank you. And our work as a leader within the community cannot be tarnished. Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you, Devin. So back to the minutes for June 27th, 2023. Hearing no edits or comments, I move approval of the minutes for June 27, 2023. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Next, we have 11 items in our miscellaneous calendar. And I'm going to read through them very quickly or summarize them. First, authorization to hire request, community preservation planner. Authorization to hire for a building custodian for the Council on Aging. Approving the permit for the Boston Athletic Association's hosting of the half marathon on November 12, 2023. Approving a contract for the transportation and mobility improvements on Walnut Street, Chestnut Street, Short Street, Kinwood Street, and Russell Street. That's in the amount of $2,486,370. And when we approve all of the items, I'd like to have the approval of item 6E, which I just read, to read as follows. Approval of contract PW/23-27 fiscal year 23 transportation and mobility improvements, Walnut Street, Chestnut Street, Short Street, Kinwood Street, and Russell Street with Charles Contracting Co. Inc. for construction services not to exceed value of $2,486,370. So in the minutes, that will be the approval we give for that. Approving an air rights license to allow a boom of crane being used for the construction of senior housing at 108 Center Street. Approving a contract amendment with Jonathan Levy Architects for Driscoll School project.
I'm sorry, we're holding that one.
Holding, okay,
That's 6G.
6G. we're
6-3,
holding.
okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, skipping over 6G. Question of approving change order number 28 with Gilbane Building Company for work on the Driscoll School project in the amount of $311,367. Change order with Lambrian Construction for various scope changes to contract related to Brookline High School in the amount of $154,112. Contract amendment with Miller Dyer Spears Architects for the Pierce School project. Testing and other forensic work at existing school to better inform the design.
Says
Um,
Pierce.
That's Driscoll.
Says
No.
Pierce.
Oh,
that-
it's corrected.
There's an updated.
Oh,
agenda.
Oh, it should say Pierce? It should say Pierce.
Not Pierce.
That's 6J.
Okay. Okay.
In the amount of $6,204.99. And finally, approving an alternate manager for New England Treatment Access, Zachary Fisher. And those 11 items I move approval of by the select board unless there's any questions or desire to know more. All in favor? John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Okay. Next on the agenda, let's see, special town meeting schedule, I believe is next, right?
Sorry, Bernard, are we going to go back to 6G or is that?
It's
another
being held
time?
for another meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, are there any issues that we should know about or?
No,
Is
it's
it
just, it's under further review by the project team.
Okay.
We'll get a revised invoice.
Okay, good. Okay, special town meeting schedule, is that going to be Melissa? I see she's on the Board, yes. So
Hello,
talk
you-
to us about the schedule.
Sure. So in your packet, you should have some draft dates for the fall town meeting. These dates have been run by the moderator and the town clerk. Based on scheduling a town meeting that starts on November 14th, we count backwards to get 75 days before town meeting. And that means that our warrant will be opening on August 3rd and closing on August 31st. So we're looking to have a town meeting November 14th, 15th, and 16th. We'll skip the week of Thanksgiving. We'll reconvene on the 5th, 6th, and 7th, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I hope we don't need these dates, but we have tentatively booked 12, 13, and 14 as well. So just looking for the board to confirm the schedule and set the dates for the opening and closing of the warrant and the date for town meeting.
Okay, any questions from the board? Okay, let me just mention that on the schedule are meetings of the select board on warrant articles for October. And not included are 2 dates where the select board does not meet. Hopefully, the warrant will not be so long that we're going to have to change our schedule and meet on those days. So I just want to let you know that that is a possibility. Any other comments or questions?
I would just note on November 3rd, says report sent to Paul for printing. I'm not printing.
You're not
That'd
the
be
only
Paul
Paul.
Scarborough in our mailroom. Yes. Now we have a
Scarborough.
second Paul. We'll have to note that.
Thank you for clarifying. that.
Yes, if you get any of those supplements with the beautiful pieces of paper on the front, the various colors, you can thank Paul, because yeoman's work making that all happen for us.
Okay, so hearing no further comments or objections, I move approval of the special town meeting schedule for the fall of 2023. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next, town meeting follow-up. And let me just add with respect to this, this is during our public comment period, we do not engage in back and forth and responses to questions. But a couple questions that were raised will be addressed, at least in summary form, by the town administrator under this item. So, Des.
Sure. So we have here, which you have a memo in your packet from Melissa. Thank you, Melissa, for compiling this, summarizing the outcome of the 2023 annual town meeting and the special within for the one gun regulation article. And so Melissa's identified areas where additional action is required. For this particular warrant, there are a number of referrals to the board regarding this. But beyond that, the major aspect of action that you have for tonight is the warrant article 22, which received favorable action in ranked choice voting. The approval of the transmission of the document to the state legislature. That vote is scheduled next on your agenda list. So you can see we've already appointed the measures of wood and bark. The audit rotation means that engagements beyond 10 years will come back to you for approval per that warrant article. You will now follow the prioritization of included in the bylaws regarding if you're not going to hold public hearings on all articles. But as you previously indicated, I think the board has indicated that they intend to do so. And so in that instance, you wouldn't need to follow that prioritization. There are 3 articles that were referred to you. Article 13, the Department of Housing Stability. Article 17, the cannabis equity licensing. And Article 19, the creation of a Black and Brown Commission. On Article 13, I have already held meetings with all of the staff involved. There are many, many departments involved in this, as you might imagine. It's not just Health and Human Services, it's planning, it's the police, it's town council, it's a large, it's ODICR, it's a lot of different groups that have a lot of potential insight to bear on this. What I will say is that we are working towards a short to midterm solution to build out a much more public clearinghouse of housing related support services that will live in a front and center on the town's website so that it will be up to date, it will be current, it will have additional information from all the departments. We are also reaching out to some of our partners, particularly at the Brookline Center, to have a conversation about how their, the mid to long-term services they provide are on that front. That will be the short to mid-term establishment of the Office of Housing Stability. And responsibility there, we are still identifying which department in the short term will have the oversight responsibility there for that clearinghouse and addressing any questions that may come our way regarding that information.
Is there going to be a person?
Yes, there will be a point person charged with establishing this Office of Housing Stability.
And being the person, if somebody can call them and get help.
Right.
And
Right, because right now those calls go to the planning department,
Yeah.
and if they're kind of fielded as okay,
Or various other people. in
Or-
town.
right.
but right, it's some, but right now, right, if people go to the current website, which is buried in the planning department's website somewhere, it tends to reach planning, calls tend to reach planning. We want to be much more deliberate about who that reaches and why and where that and how that's set up. So
And I just want to be specific because I can imagine someone who's dealing with this stuff, they're extremely stressed out.
Right.
And resources might be available there on the internet, but I don't always think that means that they can actually access them and understand them
Right.
and use them.
Right.
So
But
it
again-
needs to be a person.
right, and we want
Chaz, when do you expect that person to be in place?
by the end of the summer.
By the end of the summer. So if there's a phone number, there's an email address for a specific individual and a name, you could reach out and contact that person.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
And then beyond that, we want to continue with this sort of mid to long term analysis of the resources available to us that the health department is leading the charge on that front. We're excited. We have an RFP ready to go. I'm not sure if it's on the street yet or not, but I will double check with the health commissioner. And we are also simultaneously reaching out to a number of town meeting members who have volunteered their time and expertise on this subject to basically introduce us to communities that have done the sort of community hub-based model. We're hopeful to bring on individuals within this community who have expertise in that style of social service provision, the holistic style of social services, and we'll go from there. So that's where we are on Warrant Article 13. Warrant Article 17, a lot of Warrant Article 17, the questions about Warrant Article 17 will depend on what the Cannabis Control Commission's regulations regarding social equity are. And those regulations are due out in the fall. So there will be a tight turnaround most likely between those release of those regulations and the report to town meeting, but we will make that. In the interim, the Cannabis Control Commission has sent out sort of a letter indicating best practices. But that letter is basically, look at places like Somerville and others who have done things like waived fees for social equity applicants, cut a lot of the red tape, all of that. But those are communities that, still have licenses available or did at the time that this was published. There's no information in there about where, a community that has no more licenses available, what, if anything, is incumbent upon them to do. So we are waiting for further guidance from the state on that.
So the one thing you said that concerns me a bit is the tight turnaround,
Yes.
because I think we're not necessarily known for our nimbleness in town government on these kinds of things. And this is, it's partly a practical and partly a philosophical issue. And so I do think that we should have some kind of discussion about this ahead of time. Before we see the state regs, so just so that we get a sense of, well, if they're going to go this way, here's how we think, and if we're going to go that way, if the state's going to go that way, then what are our options?
And Chaz, just a quick point. So
Wait,
I'm sorry.
this is getting a little out of control. Please raise your hand and let me.
That's my fault. Sorry.
No, that's I let it get out of hand. Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing me. So should the public have an expectation that this board would increase the number of retail cannabis licenses as a result of the referral?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
That's 17, 19. The Black and Brown Commission. It's we've been doing a lot of talking about this and the discussion that was had at town meeting on this. It's clear that there's a lot of good faith efforts on all sides of this to reach a means of making this happen in a way that ensures that people are called in rather than called out, and that the community, which had that sort of divisive conversation at town meeting, can move towards something more restorative. And so to that end, we're having conversations with local mediation groups that do a lot of particularly race and equity restorative justice work. We want to turn to them as potential resources to engage with the community and think about how to bring this warrant article potentially back in some way, or otherwise as a, make a recommendation to the select board, since you have the power, plenary authority to create committees and commissions, you don't need a warrant article to do it. That would potentially be an option there. We're still in the process of having those conversations and those interviews. The issues raised in the public comment about investigation is not related to warrant article 19. I know there's conversation about that link, but it's not the same issue. In that instance, what I'd like to do is I need to ensure that there is a fair and impartial investigation. There are 2 complaints that have been filed with CDICR alleging racial discrimination. It is not just the town say so. We need to address those issues before moving forward, with any sort of engagement on that front. Those issues need to be cleared out, and they need to be cleared out in a fair way. I'm not going to cut corners. I'm not going to say one thing or the other. I want to make sure that it's done right and in a way that is respectful of all the parties involved in it. So that's the effort on my end on that front. And when that issue is resolved, we can move forward. But until it's resolved, I can't.
Paul?
Thank you, Bernard. I just want to be clear on, is there a linkage between a discussion and recommendation about the formation of a commission and this other issue of an investigation? Are those 2 separate issues?
2 totally separate issues.
Okay, so is there can I have a follow-up question?
Sure.
Okay, so is there a linkage between the restorative mediation process and the discussion around the formation of a commission?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be the first step. And what can you just discuss?
Sure. It will effectively be parallel tracks, right? There is an investigation into allegations that racially discriminatory comments were made. And there is this effort to move forward with warrant article 19, as was referred to the board. So on that front, we want to present you with options and the ability to kind of turn what was a combative discussion into something productive.
Right.
So I'd like to add that there's no decision made as to whether there's going to be a formal structure around warrant article 19. We may just incorporate warrant article 13 concerns, housing, along with the concerns expressed in warrant article 19 related to services in our overall social services efforts. I don't want anyone to think that we're necessarily coming back with a warrant article for a Black and Brown club.
Right.
Commission.
Ultimately, it's yours,
Commission.
right? Ultimately, right.
Sorry,
That
you're
that
right.
decision
Yes,
is yours, right? Our goal is just to do that assessment, provide you with the most information possible for you to make a decision about how to move forward.
Paul?
That's a follow-up. And so what timeline for that?
That is probably moving forward. I don't want to commit to as firm a timeline on that because I don't have unlike with warrant article 13, I don't have as much confidence, and this involves outside people getting involved and I don't know their schedules. So I'm reluctant to commit to a deadline now and blow by it and then have people say, what have you been doing? So as soon as I feel more confident about the players on the outside who will be assisting on this from the town and from the staff side of things, I will let the board know.
Okay, thank you.
But you will have an update at our next meeting
Yes,
on the
the plan is
25th.
on the 25th to have a more detailed update on these 3 articles.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Nothing to vote on, so. And it's 6:30. We're doing well today.
Moving right along.
Yes,
The
Miriam.
ranked choice voting, I think we're talking about that next
Yes, we'll get to it.
as a separate issue. I mean, just because it's on here, but
Okay, unless there's any further discussion, we'll move on to item 10, which is ranked home rule petitions. The question of transmitting following home rule petitions from the 2023 annual town meeting, specifically ranked choice voting. Who's going to make a presentation on that?
There's not a whole lot to say.
Don't say anything.
I can, I'm sorry.
Sure. Mike,
I can certainly say that there's a couple things going on. One is Brookline, and I think there are 5 other towns that have filed or their town meetings have asked their select boards to file home rule petitions, allowing them to have to opt for ranked choice voting. At the same time, there is legislation moving through the House and Senate, both, that would provide local option for all communities in Massachusetts. So the legislature wouldn't have to deal with these things piecemeal. They'd be able to say, okay, here you are, here are the rules around ranked choice voting. If you want to adopt it, you don't have to adopt it. And there was a hearing, a joint Senate House committee hearing a couple of weeks ago. I spoke at it at the request of the chair of the ranked choice voting committee that we appointed, Scott Ananian. I believe Scott spoke after I did, although honestly I did not stick around. There were a very large number of people from other communities making favorable remarks. There was one person out of perhaps the 20 or so that I heard who was opposed to ranked choice voting, and that was our very own Neil Gordon from the advisory committee. Other than that, all of the commentary was really quite positive. So I have no idea what's going to happen with that state petition, that state legislation. It would make our home rule petition unnecessary. But since we don't know what's going to happen with it, it makes sense to forward, to me at least, to forward town meeting's request to the legislature.
and we need a formal vote to.
We need to vote to do that. Yeah.
Paul,
I just have a quick question. My memory is a little fuzzy on this because it was a long debate on ranked choice voting. And I believe it was brought up that there was an error in the actual warrant article.
Yes.
Has that been corrected in the transmittal letter?
I believe so. I know
I don't know the specific error, but that's
right.
my
Well,
question.
the error was related to the way votes would be counted when there are 3 or more candidates for in a multi-seat election. And then 3 or more candidates and more than 1 seat open, basically. That error was corrected. I forwarded something to somebody. I have to go back into my records, but I do believe that the answer to the question is yes.
Miriam,
I just want to point out for those that are interested in ranked choice voting in action, the Heath School Renaming Committee used ranked choice voting to end up with the Roland Hayes name. FYI.
Bernard, just a quick follow-up. So
I was just saying that's a different type of vote than what we're talking about. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're responding to me, so I'll let you.
Well, I'm responding to you, but I will say that certainly one of the criticisms of ranked choice voting is, well, people just don't understand it. And here you have the thing that I said, one of the things that I said at the Senate House, at the joint House Senate committee hearing was that I learned about this in the 8th grade and we all passed the test on it. And indeed the Heath School kids have demonstrated that they understand. I should also say that Tommy Vitolo is the vice chair of the joint committee. So he was somewhat concerned that Brookline will be all by itself. There are 5 other towns submitting petitions. Home rule petitions have to go through that committee, as does the omnibus bill.
Okay, good.
So
Paul.
Bernard, my question hasn't really been satisfactorily answered. Mike thinks he thinks.
Yeah,
that-
well, I'll give you a
oh,
moment to check into it.
And so I guess that's all. I would hate to have us send a letter.
Yeah.
Carrying the error forward. It's probably a simple thing to correct. I honestly can't remember the
Well,
specific.
Why don't we vote to approve sending it forward, subject to the correction of the
I'm happy to, that sounds good to me.
In the meantime, I'll try and find the answer.
Yeah. But I don't think that's necessarily gonna impede our vote right now. So
Okay.
any other discussion, questions, comments? Yeah, I move approval of the question of transmitting the ranked choice voting home rule petition from the 2023 annual town meeting to the legislature. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Wait, you have a question before?
I have, we just talked a little bit about maybe modifying the motion to say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Subject
Yeah.
to,
Or the
confirm,
motion as
confirming
amended.
that
Right.
the correction has been made.
Right.
Um,
Subject to the correction of the, I guess, the letter to correct the identified mistake.
Error during town
Error.
meeting.
Okay. So all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye,
And chair votes aye. I apologize for missing that. but,
That's okay.
you know, that happens. Next, boards and commissions appointments. So this should go quickly and we're only at 6:40.
know, it's.
Pinch me.
Yeah, right. Not only did we end the meeting in the same day we started, but we ended it early, which we haven't always done, at least while I've been chair. But at any rate, okay, first, Commission for Women. So we have, as I understand, Carol Cara is who left the commission is coming back on. And
Good.
we have not interviewed her though, but
You have not. So
we all
Carol,
know her.
Yeah.
yes, Carol Caro stepped
Mm.
down when there were two new applicants who you did interview because she wanted to give folks an opportunity to be on the commission. And then Felina Silver Robinson, the former chair, resigned
No, there's-
from the commission. So there was an opening. There's no competition for the seat. She expressed interest in wanting to rejoin and submitted her reappointment application.
We can just view it as rescinding her resignation.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I'm,
Because her term would have gone through August of 23 anyway.
and this new term's gonna go through what?
3-year term.
3-year term. Okay.
Can I?
So, yes, Miriam.
I just think it's really commendable. And I really think it's worth acknowledging that she was willing to step aside to let new people come on. And I really appreciate that approach and attitude.
agreed.
Okay, so I move approval of Devin, could you tell me the names of the two people we?
You've already appointed them.
Oh,
So
we've al-
Carol is the
okay.
only one who's
Okay.
before you.
I'm sorry, my notes are wrong. I move approval of Carol to position on the Commission for Women. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye,
And chair votes aye. Next, Community Preservation Committee. Who are the,
This is the reappointment of David Lescoyer. He is the only person who was up for reappointment after your initial appointments. So you have, a host of people who are on here by category, which means that there are boards and commissions that appoint them to
Yeah.
serve as their liaisons. And then there are 3 at-large positions, which at the creation of this committee last year's town meeting, you did staggered terms. So David Lescoyer was the 1-year term. So
Yeah.
he's applied for reappointment and there is no competition.
okay, for 3 years.
That's correct.
Okay, any questions regarding David Lescoyer? I move approval of David Lescoyer. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're good.
Move approval of David Lescoyer for a position on the Community Preservation Committee. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John?
Aye.
Miriam?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Paul?
aye,
And chair votes aye. And finally, we have 2 people for the Planning Commission, Matthew Hyatt and Carrie Yoon, who we interviewed a couple weeks ago or within the last month. And I believe that they're just 2 positions. And Paul,
I have one question. Mark Zarillo is listed as having his first term ending August 31st, 2022.
Yes, that's correct. So he applied for reappointment last year and was not reappointed. He'll serve until either he applies for reappointment again or someone applies in his stead. So you'll also see that Linda Hamlin will come up for August 2023 if I receive reappointments from both of them. And if there's any other competition, you'll interview those folks and then move for appointment.
Okay, so Cirillo is continuing because no one has stepped up to
That's
take his
correct.
place. That's okay.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay.
fine. All right.
Yeah, it's so that's how most of our terms are written. They serve until a placement is
Yeah.
found or
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, Bernard, thank you.
It's unfortunate that we can't get people to step up. It's for an important.
Yeah,
work
although
like
that's a
this.
heavy, that's a heavy lift, planning board. No, I'll let it go. Sorry.
I'm curious.
Well, thank you for clarifying it. It was just confusing to me with the date. So he wasn't, he didn't ask to be reappointed, or he wasn't reappointed?
he was not reappointed.
He was not
We
reappointed.
voted him down.
You voted him down. Okay.
So if he chooses to apply for reappointment again, then the choice will be before you again.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Right, that was my confusion.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Okay, so I move approval of Matthew Hyatt and Carrie Yoon, whose materials in great detail are in our packet as members of the planning board. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John,
Aye.
Miriam,
Aye.
Mike,
aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and Chair votes aye. And I see nothing else on the agenda.
I do want to make the chair aware that per your new public comment policy, someone has indicated that they weren't able to make public comment at the outset of the meeting. And if the time is available now, they'd like to do so.
Pardon?
Just before that, I have something on boards and commissions. So it's
Okay.
relevant.
Yeah, we'll do it. I mean, I think that, I mean, if it were much later, we may not, but Miriam.
Yeah, I just want to say that CDICR has several vacancies. So I'm just putting the call out for people to tell their friends and neighbors and buddies and coerce whoever they can to apply for CDICR. It's like a hamster wheel trying to keep that committee fully staffed. So please.
And you're the board's representative, so do your duty there.
5 people and then 3 people.
Thank you.
We're waiting for those 5 people left. So I
Okay,
need 3 more people.
okay.
Send me good people.
You want to spell out what CDICR?
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Commission for Diversity, Inclusion and Community Relations. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
Paul?
Mhm.
I just wonder if maybe the town administrator would add this to his regular newsletter update. Any
Excellent.
openings for boards and commissions, and get that
Yeah.
now that it's so widely
That's a
read.
good idea.
I read it.
Great idea. Thank you.
Great idea.
We will publish that.
Okay. Okay, wait a minute. So we have public comment.
From,
Ernie Fry, you've been promoted to a panelist. You can
He
unmute
was here earlier.
yeah.
and share your video if you're comfortable, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Yeah, he was. Oh, you're on mute, Ernie.
How's that?
Much
Great.
better.
Okay. Yes, I was there earlier and I was very disappointed that the 15 minutes expired before I had a chance to make my presence known. I have other remarks regarding that which was occupying that 15 minutes, but that's not really why I'm talking to you at this point. I want to commend the members of the select board and our town administrator for the work that they do for the town. I think it's very important. It's very demanding, and I applaud the work that they do and realize that they work under tight timeframes in trying to get things done. It's not easy having 60,000 bosses, and so I sympathize with that situation. However, the attempt to make things easier for the select board was recently announced as an attempt to reduce the number of meetings and the frequency with which the select board met. Over the summer, it's 1 meeting less than what I would have expected. But more significantly, after September, the intention is to meet 3 meetings 3 times a month. And I don't think that that is in the interests of the town of the citizens of Brookline. I think the idea is that to give the select board a break. However, that when that extra week comes up that you've got the break, that's when you're going to have the crisis, and that's not appropriate for whatever. Now, I've circulated my comments to all of you already, and I want to bring this up to the town really, and make them aware that this change is pending. I'm not sure how many people are aware of that, and I'm not even certain that this is a very good vehicle for trying to let people know about that, because there's limited number of people involved. I would support adding staff to the town administrator's office if that is what's needed in order to continue to meet weekly. And also, as far as the licensing process that was proposed, I think that was excellent. That relieves you from some of the work, the time that is taken up by town meeting.
You have 30 seconds.
And I would suggest that maybe there are other items of the financial nature that come up that come up on the agenda that maybe could be handled in a different way, and that probably requires the review of town council to determine if that is possible. Happy to work with any of you who wish to go down this road, and I thank you very much for listening to my comments.
Thank you. Okay, any other items or any other questions, comments by the select board? In that case, I call this meeting ended.